In this video, we'll be going over the Energy Efficient Home Improvement Credit Limit Worksheet, which helps you determine line 29 of your IRS Form 5695. That helps you calculate residential energy credits. This worksheet should not be confused with the line 14 worksheet for the residential clean energy credit, which we've produced in another video. We'll put a link to that video in the show notes. Although these calculations are similar between the credit limit worksheet for line 14 and the credit limit worksheet for line 29, there are some differences. Before we go through the differences in the worksheets themselves, I'd like to go over some of the key differences between the actual tax credits. So, as with the residential clean energy credit, the energy efficient home improvement credit is a non-refundable tax credit, which means you can take a tax credit that reduces your tax liability to zero, but not below zero. So you can't claim a refund. Unlike the residential clean energy credit, which can be carried forward to future tax years, any unused portion, you can only claim the energy efficient home improvement credit in the current tax or in the tax year that you purchased the home improvement. If you cannot use it in that tax year, then you lose it. You cannot carry it forward to future tax years. You cannot apply it to previous tax years. So this home improvement credit, like the residential clean energy credit, is for primary residences located in the United States only, not for houses located outside the United States. Unlike the residential clean energy credit, you can only use this for existing homes, not for new construction homes. There are annual dollar limits based on the type of improvement, which you can find in our article or in the form instructions. However, there is not a lifetime limit. So between tax year 2023 all the way through to, I believe, 2032, as the tax code currently stands, you can, if you make improvements each year, you can claim improvement credits each year subject to tax liability limits. And those credits are generally 30% of the qualified expenses up to the annual dollar limit or up to the tax liability credit limit. So in this tax form, what we've done, or in this worksheet, what we've done is we've taken all of the different adjustments that you would need to make. We've simplified it because, just like with the other worksheet, the math is pretty straightforward. The more difficult part is determining where all of this information comes from and whether or not it applies to your tax situation. So there are technically only 3 lines. There's much more, and we're going to go into this a little bit more depth. So let's start with line 1. You're going to enter the amount from your Form 1040, 1040SR, or your 1040NR, line 18. Line 18 consists of 3 things. Your tax liability as calculated and reported on line 16 of your Form 1040. It will also contain it will contain 2 line items from Schedule 2, line 3. So those line items from Schedule 2 include the alternative minimum tax, which you will calculate on IRS Form 6251, and any excess advance premium tax credit repayment, which is reported on IRS Form 8962. So those 2 items result in line 3 of your Schedule 2, and then that is added to line 16, your tax liability, to arrive at your line 18 number. From there, we're going to enter any applicable tax credits and subtract them from this amount. So if this is the amount that this is the maximum limit, we're going to subtract any other tax credits they may apply to your tax situation to arrive at the true ceiling. So if you take too many of these other tax credits elsewhere, it kind of pushes this energy efficient home improvement credit out. So let's go through each of these. Negative Form 8978 adjustment. This is on IRS Form 8978, which is the partners reporting your tax. That filters into Schedule 3, Line 6L. Foreign tax credit, which is calculated on IRS Form 1116 and then reported on Line 1 of your Schedule 3. The tax credit for child and dependent care service expenses, calculated on IRS Form 2441, reported on Line 2 of Schedule 3. The tax credit for the elderly or the disabled, which is calculated on Schedule R and reported on Line 22. Non-refundable education credits, which are calculated on IRS Form 8863, then reported on Line 3 of Schedule 3. So I'll take a break here in this section. There are two parts to the education credit, specifically the American Opportunity Tax Credit. So there is the refundable part, which you'll calculate on IRS Forms 8863, and then there's the non-refundable part. The refundable portion of any tax credit is the part that can reduce your tax liability below zero and actually present you with a refund even if you did not pay any taxes. Or if you did pay taxes during the year, it would result in a zero tax liability and then a refund for the refundable credit amount. This specifically pulls that aside and is talking about the non-refundable education credits, which can be both the American Opportunity Tax Credit or the Lifetime Learning Credit. And then finally, we have the Retirement Savings Contributions Credit, also known as the Savers Credit, which is calculated on IRS Form 8880, then reported on Line 4 of your Schedule 3. So, as with the other video, I do want to point out that this, at the time of this recording, being January of 2024, the most recent form instructions for IRS Form 5695 are for the 2022 tax year. Although the tax form itself is current for the 2023 tax year, there are some nuances that you need to be very mindful of in using this worksheet. To be honest, I would prefer waiting until the 2023 version comes out because there are some other nuances that need to be worked out by the IRS. However, I have received multiple questions from viewers and readers, so I felt the need to at least address these worksheets for the time being in this video sooner rather than later. So, once you've calculated these tax credits, of course, they're not all going to be $1,000 each. I put this in for illustrative purposes. You total them up, that's the Line 2 result, and then you'll subtract that from Line 1. So you'll end up with $14,000. So this would be the actual ceiling for any tax credit based on the fact that you can only reduce your tax bill to zero. So at this point, our remaining tax bill is $14,000. And as long as anything that we calculated on Form 5695 is less than that, you should be able to take the full credit. If this amount were zero or less, then you would enter zero on Form 5695, both lines 29 and 30. So if you're calculating both the energy efficient home improvement credit and the residential clean energy credit, just know that this number would also be, or the actual number of your tax credit would be used to inform the worksheet for line 14 of your 5695. So you could be in a situation where you can take a credit for the energy efficient home improvement, and then that pushes out the residential clean energy credit, which is acceptable. It should be acceptable because you can push that tax credit into a future tax year, whereas you have to claim the energy efficient home improvement credit in the current tax year. You can't roll it over. So you'd be better off using this tax credit and then saving the other tax credit for a future tax year. So your forms kind of do that for you. So that's all we have for this video. We'll put, we mentioned a lot of forms and schedules. We'll put links to all of them in the show notes. So if you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions or comments, or if there's any topic that you would like to discuss in a future video, please hit me up in the comments section. Thank you very much and have a great day.